What is up? Workbringer here, and today we're going to be doing Mist of Tirna Scythe +7. And I am 190, I'm a Protection Paladin, I've got my Shield of the Righteous Legendary, and we have a Night Fae Hunter. I think. Someone's Night Fae. And opening the door. Now +7, this is the highest I've pushed so far. And we're still going for the double pull. I am aware of how dangerous this pack is up front. I've died to it before. And I'm busting at least Ardens, right? Not the full cooldown for damage reduction and Avengers, and I'm like, these die now, because these can be tricky, and it's never good to wipe on the first pull. It's not good, though it's pretty easy to run back, but it doesn't feel good. That being said, this next pack also pretty tough on +7 at 190 gear, with the old Fortified. That's a toughie. These hurt. They hurt, and they live forever. And I'm pumping pretty big deeps over here, Prot Pal, with the new Legendary. Very happy with it. And that's what I consider my... Oh, we got to get the dude out. I'm getting low. And I think, yeah, that's Word of Glory. I commonly Word of Glory these first two pulls. It's like I might as well pop everything. And maybe that's what it's like doing higher and higher keys. Is just like these trash will... This trash will destroy you. Oh, look, I think I die. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, like I said, it's like these first two pulls, they'll end you. The other side, same thing. The other side is I'm like terrified of that one now because it's hard to pull that off, and then I butt pull, right? So, what have we learned? What have we learned? Now, I'll give you the TLDR, because I don't really post the videos where we don't time. We time this, and it's fine. So it's like, we can recover from this. It's not great. But what I've learned from this pull at these higher keys is that intense moments with wipes like this, and these first two are intense, and I expect them to be intense even on, for +10, and everything is going to continue to be intense, is that we try to minimize those type of skips. Because when you run back in the heat of the moment, if Pride falls up or something like that, like any of those little things, someone's going to butt pull it. And today, that person was me. When it's a fresh pull, it's like, oh yeah, watch the pack on the left. But, I'm like, oh, I need to get back. And so, like, what I'm going to do next time when I do this one for this pug, for pug routes, is I am going to pull that pack to kill it just in case. And I learned the same thing in Plaguefall as well. So it's a bit of strategy in playing it safe. Now, if it's like, say it was a group, like I'm not in a guild currently that runs these consistently. I don't have a consistent group yet. But say we did a group before this that was like, +5 or +6 or whatever, something. Yes, it was +6 something, and we timed it +1. And I know everyone's gonna do fine. Maybe I'm warmed up by then too. Then maybe I skip it, right? But I'm trying to actually, I'm basically designing sub +9 routes now, and they're mostly so that I don't screw them up, and so that they're pretty straightforward for the group, and flexible for wiping. Not to say that we're going to, but just in case. And so that is an example of why I am going to pull that first pack there. It's easy to skip, but in my Mythic dungeon tools, I am going to add that to my count and let that affect my route. Now, this is one of the more random and hard to plan dungeons, so that's going to make it really kind of tough, I think, for Prideful, like 10+. But everything under, it's pretty flexible with count, which is why I would want to skip that pack normally, because those packs hurt a lot. But in the terrible case that we wipe, it's better just to have that be gone, right? And these are getting harder and harder. And we're all kind of second week geared, which is not amazing. When I'm eye level 200, which hopefully isn't too long, right? I don't know, like a month or something like that. Yeah, then a +7 is like a joke or something like that. I am sure, but 7 right now is as high as I would really want to push. I don't think I've tried an 8 yet, and I'm kind of getting demolished in 7s. Like I can finish them, but it's tough. It doesn't feel good. We're like just getting by. So yeah, we're doing the work here. I don't know if it's the beginning of the dungeon or something and I need to warm up, but like these ones are not killing me. But those first two pulls, I'm kind of thinking in the future for this dungeon, if we do the skip, that first pack on the left, you know, with the Night Phase shortcut. I'm Avenging Wrath immediately. Shield of the Righteous goes up before I even get there. But I am going to save Divine Shield and Toll if possible for that second pull, because that thing is a beast. You know, at least Guardian of the Ancient Kings is going up immediately. And then after, I might just Divine Shield right in the middle until I get higher geared or just kind of sort that out. But, you know, I essentially remember the packs that wipe me that quickly, that just delete me off the face of the planet. And this is it, the first pulls of Tirna. A few triple pull Halls of Atonement, which you know is kind of the way, especially when we start to do the prideful version of it. That's a one-shot moment. And then to other side, which I didn't record it, but I'll go do like a plus 70 other side. I think I could at least do a 6 or 7 right now with like a, you know, it needs to be like a 190 group essentially. But man, that second pull, those will just destroy you. These are pretty strong too. It's mostly just pulling them out of the black stuff that's the part. So this one is a lust fight, and I think we're calling out, if I remember correctly, we lost this at the wrong time, sadly. I think I'm calling out, I'm not the key holder of this, I'm like technically, but I'm like, okay, lust when it switches over. You know, assuming people know what that means, is like eventually the tree is like, hey, and you start attacking the dude and he takes 300% damage. They lusted here. This is not the time to lust. You kind of want to just, you know, as quickly as you can burn down the tree, and then even now is not the time to lust. And I'm just focusing on interrupts. The damage of the pools at this key is not currently too much of an issue. Now you lust. This is when you lust now, because this guy takes 300% damage. You lust here. And this group, I think had we lusted it at the right time, I think we're still having some of it. He would have been probably dead. Possibly, right? Like we have the DPS. Like Mage and Shaman are pulling 7 almost, something like that. I'm not too far behind at like, you know, 4 and Hunter at 5. Like, you know, we might have burned him down immediately. So that's a bit of a mistiming. But again, Pug, right? Like you, on voice comms, or, you know, voiceless Pug, we would have just been like, now. Would have been much easier. But there's all this ambiguity. And for the enhancement shaman or whatever, they're probably just like, let's just get it out of the way so I can concentrate, right? Which I get that too. If you're not the tank and have to literally call out all the mechanics and be responsible for them. DPS. That's why you DPS, is you just want to, you know, smash. You don't have to think too much. You know, I think overall rogues kind of, I think rogues like the utility of all the stuff that they like. They like being the shroud. They like being the sap and whatnot. But yeah, we kind of burned through it, and not a big deal. At this point, even though he has like a bit of a shield on him or something like that, damage reduction, they just focus him down, and it's not that big a deal. I'm kind of sure that could have been a one-phase fight had we bloodlusted at the right time, but hey, whatever. This part is pretty low intensity for me, as far as, you know, surviving. I consider this just like DPS fun, right? And the boss at the end of this, again, if things go wrong, which, well, this one is not my, I believe this is not my finest miss, because I consider it my responsibility to solve the puzzle. This was not my finest, and when it's not my finest on a high key, it's wipey. It's real wipey. So you have something to look forward to with that. But with this, I've kind of learned this one a bit. These guys will cast spears, and then you move. Pretty chill. Oh, I learned something about Spires of Ascension too that I'll have to, like, if I do like a +8 or +7 or 8, I forget what my next push is for that. It's either 7 or 8. I've learned a couple new things about that dungeon anyway. Things that I was like face tanking that were like fine below, apparently are dodgeable and are not so fine the higher you go. So I have things that I've learned about that one. This one's kind of random, right? The mobs you get. And so there's some spear ones. Some of them leave pools. But in general, at a 7, I'm still face tanking these, and I just try to get out of the spears. It's a little more intense now. So I imagine with the 8, it's like if I haven't like significantly geared up, that I need to be more on top of dodging that. Now, this part of the maze always confuses me because it's like kind of like 2 rooms, and I'm always like, where are we supposed to go? I just stand by a pillar like a good boy and just hope the healer can figure it out. Coming in hot, dropping the shield, that's the buff. And then dropping the shield of righteous when we get the energy. You know, currently doing like quite good DPS. Again, no cooldowns, haven't really used anything. We're using the bubble. I'm pretty sure that means just stand under it. Same thing when you have a resto shaman. When they drop the little circle on the ground, you're supposed to all stand in it, and it like evens out your health or something like that. Yeah, the healer circles, just stand in them when they happen. I also have some of the, I believe the big tank externals that healers can do. I have that tracked on my Vidu, and I see them in retrospect, but I have never seen one in the heat of the moment, because the last time, like, you know, the last thing I'm going to do when I'm in need of a healer external is, like, you know, notice a little icon on my health bar, because my health bar is probably like, you know, 10% or something like that. But yeah, it should be on there. Looks like someone hit that, got eaten by that breath there. This is a little scary, actually. The armor eating, I need to pre-defensive that, and that's tricky to tell. And these bosses are different every time, these maze bosses, so I kind of forget. But I do remember that, like, there's like 2 moments where I'm like, oh man, I'm gonna get one shot by this thing eating me, and I haven't had that for a while, so that's +7. At least at this gear level. So like, I need to stam up. Like, my trinkets I think are both strength, unfortunately. I need that stamina. Luckily we got that mushroom stamina, but I need some stamina or else I'm gonna get eaten in one shot. This boss is taking so long to kill. We have to pull him out of the radiant pool twice. That's uncommon for me. That is uncommon for me. So I'm trying to be helpful and stand on the totem, but they figured it out. So I guess I'm the one lagging behind. That's who I am. That's who I am. So I think we get kind of a lucky, and we have a ton of these. Sometimes it's less, I think. I haven't read. I gotta read up on, again. I just found this website called like Tank Notes. I gotta read what they say about Mists. There's so much about each little pull and which one does, and you know. Anyway, like, you learn them on normal, heroic, and then mythic 0, and it's like, that's only like, you know, 60% of the dungeon. There's all these other dots and nuances that if you scaled up the difficulty, you would notice, and that's essentially what's happening now. So, you know, I've pretty much documented my learning process of this. Like, I think the first WoW video I made, I was awful, and I might still be awful, but I at least know that I'm awful now, and just knowing that you're awful is like, you know, how you get better. When I'm making these videos, I'm like, oh yeah, I messed up, and like that route was garbage, and well, I recorded it, so now I know for sure it's garbage. But this is pretty difficult to do. I think this is still a difficult thing, is to tank mythics when you're low geared, right? Eventually we get to like the cap, and like you have to be like a 20 for it to be hard. But you know, this early grind, it's hard and it's challenging, and like it requires my focus more than anything. That's kind of why I like it. It's just like, that's cool. Okay, right, so earth elemental tanking, cool. This fight's going on a while. I think maybe I would assume the shaman's looking at the healer's mana and it's like, okay, let's just chill out here. No one should really have to get healed too bad, is what I'm guessing. So I just like to mount up, stand next to a thing, and have the people who have the brain power left to finish it. And we have another trash pack. This is brutal, but at the back of my mind, I'm actually a little bit happy because, like, look at our count. It's pretty high going out of this place. Like, we only need, you know, 30% more. That's good. And it's random. I feel like I've definitely done this maze, and I mean, it's probably known how much, you know, how much trash there potentially is, minimum and maximum. But I've definitely been done with this maze by now. Before, like, you do the dragon or the big boss and it's over, and that was it. So we'd be lower on trash, the trash here is not hard, I wouldn't say, not a huge issue, but the trash after this after this next guessing game boss is actually kind of rough. With all the dots and the knockbacks that you can fall off the cliff and general damage in general, they are tough. They're toughies. So, okay, so we're coming... now, I've done great runs with Mists, and the difficulty doesn't matter, but maybe it's like nerves. I'm like, oh, man. And I believe what we're about to witness is one of my worst performances of this boss. I hate this boss. You have to think way too much. So, anyway, I'm getting into my comfy spot, which is about here. And this is where I can pretty reliably see all of the symbols. And this is where your UI actually comes to haunt you. I've got these big health bars to the left of me, which I love in every single dungeon and fight, except this one. My health bar blocks one of the icons, like always, and it's always a fight to kind of get the right thing. Now, we're doing the fox not well. People are getting frozen, but it's going okay. So I'm looking at this here, and I'm like, I don't know. It's not the it is the circles. And look, I let patty cake go, right? So I get wrecked. That was almost a wipe right then and there. It took me way too long to find out. Normally it's like 1, 2, got it, right? Like something like that. And by then I'm like, oh yeah, patty cake. Gotta interrupt it. Gotta get back to it. Is tough. But we do get that one. We do not die. I do interrupt that one. And I'm like, oof, I'm a little bit shook. I'm like, that was bad. I'm usually normally, I feel like I'm like, hey, I can get this one. But yeah, I hodged the fox. I'm like, okay, I'm being kind of helpful. My health at the same time getting kind of low. I'm probably not even mitigating. I got shook by that one, how bad that was, how much one was wiped on it. I've like, it's rare. I feel like that I get that bad. So I was like, oh man, not good. Anyway, I'm getting ready for what will be another guessing game soon. We're progressing pretty good. And I'm like, oh hey, there's the fox. Let's get the hell out of here. One thing you can do, if it's dire, is Divine Shield and then hit the fox and nothing happens. But yeah. So looking at this one, and I'm like, hey, it's the leaf, and I almost died again. You know why? Because I forgot the patty cake. I don't know if it's the level of the key or I'm like especially bad on this one, but really sketch. Like, we should be done, and I think this is nothing other to say than my fault that was so bad. Yeah, I don't know if it is higher keys, like if I'm gonna be the one, if I can split my focus between solving the puzzle and interrupting patty cake. I know that doesn't seem like a lot of things, but clearly illustrated here. I was wondering what went so bad. Is like, yeah, I missed patty cake and I got demolished trying to solve the puzzle. And yeah, so it's kind of that's what I've kind of learned. Do I interrupt this one? Thank God. Is that like the priorities change in the hierarchy? Is that like patty cake going off before, it hasn't been like a huge issue. So I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna focus on the puzzle. This other stuff, not a big issue. Hierarchies is an issue, right? So like if anything, I'm like when I'm doing this next time at like +8, right? Because that's the only thing that's gonna get me a higher IO at this point, is to go to an 8, even harder. It's like, you know what? I'm gonna talk to the healer ahead of time. I was like, you know, I'm gonna focus on patty cake and positioning. And if you could handle the puzzle for this part too, it's like, I really need to focus on that. And I'll chip in, I'll look at it if I do solve it. But what has to happen is I have to interrupt patty cake and then handle the puzzle and move around. And if I get like, you know, mega IQ that day, it's like I interrupt and solve it and run across 3 times in a row perfectly. It's possible. But because that is a puzzle, it's a variable, right? It's I went in without enough holy power, not good. That is why I die into other side in super pulls, is you have to go in with the holy power ready to immediately mitigate. In my opinion, that's what I've taken away from those kind of wipey omega pulls. And they're not omega pulls, they're not doubles, they're just regular pulls in high keys. You just got to go in with mitigation up. But yeah, the puzzle aspect of Mists keeps you alive. Like, that's like you need to have the coffee energy for that one, and kind of just know going into it, you're like, it's like, you got 1 second to solve this puzzle, and sometimes my UI is in the way. So and sometimes I just don't see it. We're going into this one. I think I type on like, this is a toughie. This is one of those pulls that can go super sideways very quickly. We are at great count, however. 82 is excellent at this point. We're not normally that high, I think. I think we got some extras or something. Mark the Staghorn needs to get interrupted. The Gorger also needs to be interrupted, I believe, as well. And I believe I marked the Flying Pat, like, basically, like, watch out. I didn't say, like, you know, what are you going to do about it? Like, okay. But here they come, right? They already have the X on it. I'm like, these become an issue here. I got a shield for it, and we're doing okay. But, like, this is going a little slow, right? And now everyone's got the dot. No one's fallen off, which is good. But this is one of the trickier pulls. This is it right here. And the Reavers kind of jump back and forth, and you can't fully tank them. They kind of sort of do what they want. I should have dispelled myself, or maybe I did. I see dispels actually on or cleanses on a on cooldown. But yeah, this is a toughie, and I mean I think we're putting up pretty good DPS, but you know anytime the trash lives too long, it's dangerous. So I don't know what eye level people are at. I don't know what DPS is optimal for +7, but I feel like we're a little under on the DPS route. I'm not so sure. I kind of want a Fire Mage, and I kind of want a Marksman Hunter, and an Unholy Death Knight, and that's my comp. For pure DPS, of course, I would love a, you know, rogues are always good, but I can never rely on them, so I end up, even if I have a rogue, I end up not utilizing it, because like I don't want to be reliant on the Shroud Skip or a Sap or something that like I can't do otherwise. But these live for a while. It's also, you know, I'm just not familiar. Maybe this is no. We're doing pretty big DPS from the Arcane Mage and the Enhanced. So no, it's I guess it's not DPS. It's just fortified. They just live for a long ass time. But these are taking a minute to kill, and they get, you know, dots and mechanics, and you just kind of get tired of it mentally. And guess what? We got another pack. So I'm taking a breather here. I think the Priestess is drinking. Is that what's going to happen? As a pretty strong off healer, I just try to flash light people in between pulls. And so the healer's like, okay, I don't have to like waste time topping people off. I'm waiting for my cooldowns to come back. I've got all of them, actually. We're taking a drink. We've got 7 minutes 40, and we are going to be overcount on the way out of here. That's because I picked up that patrol in the beginning. Or that like pack on the left that I butt pulled. And then the maze is random. You just don't know. So Avenging Wrath immediately into every cooldown I have. Plus the racial's coming back. Had I waited a few more seconds, I would have had like the everything. But everyone's cooldowns are back. And I take it back. We melt. Never mind. And Enhance is at like 9k. Yeah, we destroyed that. I still have Avenging Wrath. And I'm like, I kind of want to use it a little bit, but that was probably a little over anxious. Like, no, really need to go that ham with it. But, you know, just trying to keep the momentum going, you know, because we just took that like big taking a drink moment. Kind of don't want to have those vibes for this other part here. So we're at count already, and yeah, that's missed. It's a little bit annoying in that way, and I think Pride's gonna end up coming. I haven't planned out a Pride route yet for this. Pride must spawn in the maze. There's got to be no way around that, because if you did that much trash, you're obviously gonna tick over from like 60 to 80 or 40 to 60. It seems inevitable. It seems like impossible not to do that. So we have count. We've got 6 minutes 20. This is a bit of a big boy. Do we have lust? I think we do. Let's get healed up. Keeler drinking, probably should be. And we're just going into it, right? We don't want to rush into it. We don't want to wipe it, because like this can go for a while, and I believe we illustrate that here. So I think that was lust, right? And there's just a lot of health pool here to get through, and then some mechanics. So the last time I did this, I regretted not trying to kill the ads and the mobs, and I'm not sure I'm still not sure at my position on that. Like, I know I missed a couple interrupts. That's like, I watched that a lot closer. Our mage is like, whoa, close. I'm not sure what that damage currently is, but there's that parasitic infester. That's the one that MZs people. And I noticed that on my last run. So now I'm hyper aware of that, because I should be able to, if I hold my my interrupt, my rebuke, and my shield only for interrupts, I can solo interrupt the boss the entire fight, and that's pretty good. So they're close to me, but I think they have the fixate eyes on, which means I can't tank them. I think that's what that means. I'm like under the boss. I have no idea what's going on right now. And I'm looking at the health bars of the party and the chaos around me and the swirlies. And I'm looking at the health bar. I'm like, we got a lot left, but I'm still on these interrupts. I forget if I did that. Looking at the healer. And I'm like, oh, F. And there's the interrupt. Thank goodness I interrupted. I'm immediately just trying to heal the healer, because what's probably happening is like that healer's trying to heal other people and their health is going down. And then I'm looking at the healer. I'm like, if the healer goes, we're not going to finish this. So I suppose that's like either a good or bad thing about protection paladinism. I'm always looking like, am I going to lay on hands this person? Am I going to start doing the flash heal? Am I going to use Word of Glory? Right, so I am always looking out for the healer, for better or for worse. I actually don't have lay on hands bound for the other people. I think there's a talent where like if you use it on someone else it comes back faster, but hands is for me. That's like a tank thing. Like I can either divine shield or I can get to 10 and hands, which is a terrifying moment, but because if you do it wrong you just die, which has happened. But yeah, that's the fight. It goes on a long time. That was a long one. We did get the +1 pretty confidently, to be honest. And then tragedy. Absolute tragedy. You know what's worse than getting no gear? Getting high eye level gear, max level that you can almost get for week 1, but it's a slot you can't use. And I'm like, I think I'm typing to the group. I'm like, big sad face. You know, I got loot, eye level 200, which is like second highest gear slot I have, maybe third or something like that. And wouldn't you know where my legendary is on my 190 noob level rank 1 legendary. So real sad. But that's the run. I'll see you next time.